basically set up. They wondered if it was a kidnapping when they entered. My phone has been like this. I've been.
That's all right. That's all right. So your take on it is not so much then necessarily that it was an internecine fighting between these two different groups. One who wants to arm the terrorists, ISIS, Al Qaeda, which we know a lot of arms were flowing out of that area to Al Qaeda prior to the attack and certainly afterwards, but that they they wanted the ambassador to get kidnapped so they could have an excuse to do a prisoner trade with the blind sheik. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that the evidence is pointing in that direction. It's going to have to be investigated. We don't have the documents yet to prove it. But when you say it's a circumstantial case, but when you try to explain, why would Al Qaeda groups that we had been supporting? Remember, Obama changed sides in Libya. Obama made a decision and he issued a presidential finding. He signed it that we were going to arm Al Qaeda when we were supposedly at war with Al Qaeda. They turned down, and this again, the CCB, the Citizens Commission in Benghazi, had reported on. They had turned down an offer to abdicate. You had Gaddafi saying, "I'll leave. I don't need to be."
Hang on, Dr. Corsi, we got to go to commercial break. And I also, once we come back, we're going to talk about the North American Union. That's another massive plot. Of course, what was going on in Benghazi? They're perfectly capable of anything. They will lie, cover up, and conspire. We're going to be right back with Dr. Jerome Corsi. Stay with us. Dr. Jerome Corsi from WND.com. We were just talking in the last segment about a article that's up there, a smoking gun document from about Benghazi that was obtained by Judicial Watch, and Dr. Corsi was breaking that down. We talked a little bit about what he thinks might have been behind the Benghazi incident. But Dr. Corsi, let's move on to this other article that you've got, which really concerns me. Actually, this concerns me even more so because I know that the government elites are constantly engaged in their Machiavellian fighting within each other and running terrorist groups that they're then protecting us from. But another aspect of all this, of course, is the consolidation into trading blocks that we've seen happen with the North American Union. And now they're at the next step, trying to consolidate the North American Union with Europe and with Asian countries, just with the Trans-Pacific Partnership. That's about 40% of the world's economy right there that they're trying to pull in and control, because it's not really about free trade. You don't create a secret document about free trade and not let anybody see it, a multi-thousand page document that you ram through under fast track. No, this is not about exports unless you're talking about exporting jobs and exporting sovereignty. But we can see how this is playing out with the North American Union as they're working on the very next level of consolidation. And we see how poorly this has worked out for Americans with the North American Union. They're now talking about getting rid of U.S. passports and substituting North American Union passports. Talk about this organization that's put this piece out on CNN, why we need a North American passport.
Well, the group is the New America Foundation. It's a Washington-based think tank. It's Jonathan Soros, the son of, the billionaire George Soros, is on the board. It's a Soros-backed organization. It has money even from the State Department. It's a heavily financed organization. And they printed an article in their publications that was picked up by CNN that says that we should make the U.S. passport obsolete because the shared destinies of the three countries, Mexico, Canada, and the United States, would be to create a North American passport. And I'll quote, that would allow citizens to travel, work, invest, learn, and innovate anywhere in North America. Tourist and student visas, not necessary. So, this is advancing the agenda that I've criticized. Now, the late Robert Pastor passed away last year from American University, had been championing a North American Union, and it's a bipartisan effort. George W. Bush had the Security and Prosperity Partnership in North America since 2005, and not declared by Congress, no treaty, no law. And I put in the article now, Barack Obama, when he announced the relationships with Cuba, and he's saying from the White House in Spanish, todos somos americanos, we're all Americans. And
yes. Yes. We had Nancy Pelosi say we have one community of people that just happens to have a border running through it. If you want to understand what's going on with the open borders, if you want to understand why neither the Democrats nor the Republicans will do anything about this, the answer is NAFTA.
And it's the globalist agenda, which is an agenda for the central bankers around the world. It's an agenda for the multinational corporations. It pushes labor to slave labor. You know, it's why we see the deterioration in America of the middle class. How well are we doing since NAFTA? And it's about, you know, it's George H.W. Bush, it's Bill Clinton, it's George W. Bush, and now it's Barack Obama. And I think you're going to see remarkably that the GOP in Congress will support President Obama on fast-track authority to get this very secretive Trans-Pacific Partnership through, and the Democrats will oppose Obama.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, we've already heard, and I mentioned it yesterday, I was very disappointed to hear Rand Paul, right after the election, start talking about how we needed to do this because we need to do a boost to our economy. Listen, the only thing, as I said before, that we're going to be exporting are jobs and sovereignty. It's about exporting our sovereignty. It's the same thing that we see with Agenda 21. We talked to Rosa Corey yesterday. Listen to the very first sentence on this op-ed piece that New America organization put on CNN. The future of the United States lies in North America. They're not talking about it being geographic. They said this is not a geographic truism. It is a strategic imperative. So it's essential for them to now consolidate the North American Union because they're going to the next step. They're taking, they want to consolidate us with Europe as well as with Asia with these secretly negotiated trade agreements. They call them trade agreements. It's far beyond that. That's what's really concerning me, Dr. Corsi.
Well, and also it's the same stealth plan that was used in Europe.
Yes.
Right? You know, go back to the European Coal and Steel Agreement that was signed as a treaty in Paris in 1951, and Jean Monnet and the other architects of the European Union swore right after World War II that this was only economic agreements.
Oh yeah, that's right. Economics. It is far beyond that. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Jerome Corsi. Stay with us right after the break. We're going to take your calls on these subjects. 800-259-9231. Thank you, Dr.